if we were passing another dog?
Yeah. Kind of. You know, right now, realistic expectations with all that kind of stuff, obviously. You know, we're going to get into working that stuff specifically. But right now, I don't have crazy expectations. Yeah. For right now, if you see other dogs, I would try to work at a distance, kind of like this, and go ahead and put them in a sit. And then reward him. And then a lot of times what I'll like to do initially is put him in a stationary command like this. And there's a dog there. He knows there's a dog there. Now reward him again, because he's giving you great attention, right? And what I'll try to do is I'll try to maintain focus. So he's looking at the dog, which is fine. Now if he looks back at you, mark with good and reward. There you go. And you start to, again, shift that attention back towards you and reduce some of that arousal a little bit. And that's going to be a lot more productive than what you were doing before of just holding him back, right? It's not going to build as much drive. So why don't you go about up to that white car right there, put him into a sit, and see if you can get him to maintain that sit around the dog. So try your sit. Mark with good. Perfect. And then get him back in. Perfect. And again, him looking is fine. Wait till he checks back in with you. Perfect. Again, little things like that will start at least getting you in the right place. Now, one more thing. Let me see your leash real quick here. So I could tell when he starts kind of getting all spazzed out, you kind of start, you know, like not focusing in as much on what it is that you're doing, obviously, and you let him start kind of dragging you around a little. And I understand he's strong, obviously, and there's, you know, physical limitations with things, but I'm pretty confident that if you got a good grip on that leash, if you really plant yourself, he's not going to be able to get you moving anymore, right? Okay. So I want you to really start fighting that kind of thing that he does of like, I really see this thing over here and I want to get to it or whatever, and I'm just going to drag you over to it. If in that moment you feel like you're losing control over him, just stop, plant yourself, and just get him focused back in on you, whether it's through a sit or whether it's just through you grounding yourself and holding firm on that leash, right? Okay. And things like that will help you a little bit as well. So let's do this. One more time, I want to see you walk up and down, but this time I want you walking at a nice controlled pace, and if he tries to dart ahead of you, you're going to stop him with that leash, okay, right? So don't let him cross like this line right here.
Okay. Okay.
There you go. And slow your pace down, slow your pace down. Kind of notice like when he starts getting faster, you start speeding up almost to like catch up with him. And I want you forcing him to slow to your pace with this. So sometimes, even if you're a fast walker, sometimes it can be beneficial to just force yourself to go at a super, super, super slow pace. That way you could get him focused in even better. Let's try that one more time here. Same deal, nice slow pace as you go down that way and keep them nice and focused on you. That looks much better. You guys ever watch like The Dog Whisperer, like any of those shows, right? He talks about like calm, assertive energy, right? And like purposeful walk and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of truth to that in the way of like right there when he started freaking out, the purposeful walk was no longer there, right? You kind of let him kind of, you know, go around and stuff like that. So you want to stay really focused and centered with what it is that you're doing so that he could have something clear to pay attention to. You know what I mean? And you'll start noticing just by doing some changes like that, that will help you a lot just with your walking.
Okay.
So
the pop as opposed to constant pressure is probably the biggest thing for us to work on.
That's the biggest thing. You know, right now I just want you focused on shaping some of your commands and starting to teach him what it is that training is. You know what I mean? Because that's a lot of it. It's not so much that we're shooting for the moon and expecting these crazy results or anything, but we need to start teaching some routines of what it is that we're ultimately going to be asking him to do. And I usually recommend, you know, starting in a low distracting environment, you know, inside obviously initially, things like that. But then when you're outside, when you are walking with him, yeah, fighting that urge to have constant pressure. If you're sitting with him and he's getting all anxious and stuff like that, you got something you can keep him focused on, which is that sit right there, and start to shape those habits as well. And you're gonna notice it's kind of one of those things where like it gets worse before it gets better. You see he's getting anxious right now because he's used to, in this type of setting, wandering and checking things out and stuff like that. Now we're telling him, hey dude, you can't do that right now, right? So it's kind of like a little bit of like a tantrum that they'll throw as you get that. And you gotta just let him work through it, you know? And again, not try to correct him for it or anything, but just focus on our expectation right now is sit. You could sit and whine and bark, I don't care, but you gotta stay sitting, right?
Yeah.
And if you notice he turns and starts biting at that leash or anything, you could give him a pop on the leash for that. So you wanna start discouraging that behavior as well, right? And then obviously taking treats on the walk and using opportunities where you see other dogs, create distance, work your sit, keep the attention on you, right? And again, it's not gonna be beautiful, it's not gonna be perfect just yet here. We'll get there though. So, last thing, if you do feel like you're like losing control of him or anything, whatever you do, try to avoid the like choking down all the way to the collar and grabbing him. I would rather you just hold that leash firm like how you're holding it right now and just let him act up within the realms of that leash than that, because at least that won't make it any worse, where the constant like literally physically holding him back, that's going to continue amplifying that behavior, right?